Hi YouTube, it's Adam, and I just wanted to first give a little disclaimer. I have a feeling this video is going to be a little bit TMI, a little graphic, a little gory, just a little personal, so if there's talks about private parts, genitalia, so if you don't want to talk about this, if you don't want to see this, if you don't want to hear about it, this will be a good time to, just close the window, just click off. That being said, some interesting things happened. Some have to do with the surgery, some with the hormone treatment, with the HRT, but they all somehow, factor into this transition process. I don't know how familiar you are with this, and I'm no doctor, so, but just in layman's terms, a fairly common side effect to use of antibiotics in people with typically female anatomy can sometimes result in yeast infections because the antibiotics upset your natural balance of things, and then just things go a little haywire. And it doesn't happen to everybody, but me being me and my luck being what it is, of course it happened to me. Of course it happened to me. It happened while I was still in the hospital. Towards the end of my stay in the hospital, I started feeling kind of itchy, and there was discharge that should not be there. And so I think it was on Sunday, that was the day before I was released. During rounds, the doctor asked me if I have something to report, and I swear I had prepared myself mentally for the moment where I have to explain this and tell them that this has happened, because that just made me so damn uncomfortable. Psychologically speaking, I just had top surgery. I finally started feeling a little more confident and at home in my own body, and I was really feeling that in social interactions this new image, this new body would help me present as male better and be read as male better, and I was really feeling comfortable in that. And something like this happens, and you have to literally verbalize all these things that you don't want to disclose necessarily, or just you don't want to deal with. And so I told the doctor, and there was a male doctor and two female nurses standing there, and they asked me if I had something to report, and I'm like, I do, and then I start stuttering and scratching my head and getting all really, I don't know what they thought I was gonna say, but and I finally get it out, and they were so uncomfortable. We were all so uncomfortable. The whole room was just the tension was almost palpable, or maybe that's just my impression because I was so mortified by what was happening. And they went and found me a gynecologist for a consult. So this really old guy, this old male gynecologist walks in, asks me what the problem is, and I have to repeat and tell him. And then he did an exam, even though I had one of these a few weeks ago, and a regular one, but now I had to have one again. And he's like, okay, it's not that bad. They gave me some cream that needs to be applied vaginally for 5 days in a row. Anywho, all for educational purposes. So yeah, I got that cream to take home with me, and I did a 5-day treatment, and it's better now. It's just, this is so, again, dysphoria inducing. This is just like, this makes me feel so uncomfortable. And just as I was finishing my 5-day treatment, I noticed something else. I started bleeding. And I had mentioned this before. My last T-shot was on May 12th. That was a month and a half ago. And I also mentioned that my endocrinologist said that I should come see her after my surgery. We'll do a benchmark to see where my testosterone levels are, and then we'll continue, or decide how to continue and when to continue with testosterone. And I've been emailing her since I got out of the hospital, because I've not been very successful on the phone. So far, they don't disclose any information on the phone, so they always tell you to write an email or whatever. And so I emailed twice. I asked for an appointment, and I couldn't get one. Or like, they weren't responding at all. They were like ignoring my emails. I don't know what's happening. And then this happened. I have not had a monthly cycle since I started T. I started T on March 10th. My last occurrence was on March 16th. It lasted a few days, then I never had it again. And I was A, shocked, and B, I was pissed. Pissed at I tried to do, as the doctor said, and I guess I feel a little like they failed me. She had all this information. She knew when my last T-shot was. She knew when my surgery was. We agreed that I would come back to her, and then, nothing. And so, I had my checkup yesterday. I was supposed to be with my surgeon, but somehow he's not here. I don't know where he is. They didn't tell me. And I had a checkup with the other doctor on the team. And it's in the same building as my endocrinologist, so I decided I would just go there, because my appointment yesterday was at 9:25, so I could go before that and try to see my endocrinologist. Maybe, I can just do a walk-in without an appointment. And I get there, and they tell me that she's not even here. Again, I don't know where she is or when she's coming back, but apparently I have an appointment for next Wednesday, which they hadn't communicated with me yet. By that point, it's just that, another disclaimer, okay, I don't want this to come across as me condoning that people, disregard doctor advice, or just, go and do things, regardless of what their doctor says. That being said, that's exactly what I did this time, but that is like on me. I take responsibility for that. It was a calculated risk that I decided to take, but I do not encourage or even advise anyone to do the same. Okay, just, you're like, someone said to me, you're under supervision during this process for a reason, and it's true. It's true. But then again, so yeah, I went there and I did the math. If I have an appointment next Wednesday, they take my blood before they get my result, before they, tell me anything. It could be weeks before I get my shot. And just the prospect of what's been happening now to continue to happen in the coming weeks was just too much. So I unilaterally decided that I was just going to have my shot anyway. I mean, it's been 6.5 weeks since my last shot, and I am bleeding, for fuck's sake. So clearly my T levels must be really low. So yeah, I asked a friend who's a doctor to administer the shot yesterday. So I'm back on T as of yesterday. I have my checkup next week. They can do blood work. They can see what's what, and we'll decide how to continue from there. So yeah, a lot of interesting stuff in that regard. I wish I could say it was positive, interesting. It's mostly, to me, these incidents were both, I don't want to say traumatic, that like sounds so dramatic, but this was not, a positive development in any way. And it's made me quite uncomfortable. Like I mentioned, I had my post-op checkup with the surgeon yesterday. So I get there, they tell me to, take off my binder, so that they can have a look. The doctor, she looks at my chest and is like, has it been this swollen the whole time? Or has it been getting worse? And admittedly, my right side was fairly swollen this whole time, my left a little less. But I can honestly say if it's been getting worse or not, because I have hardly seen my chest this whole time. I've had the binder on full time. It's only been opened when I went to get my dressings changed, and even then for a couple of seconds, so I can't really say. So she then does like an exam. She like touched, the chest area and to see if it's fluid, and it was. She says that there's clearly a collection of fluids, and that she needs to remove it. I'm like, well, you're the doctor, do your thing. And the nurse brings her like a needle, like a huge one. And I'm like, ugh. I mean, I'm not afraid of needles, but I'm not a fan either. The doctor's like, don't we have those other gray needles? I like those better for these things. And the nurse leaves and comes back with an even bigger needle. And by then I was like, this is not gonna be fun. So yeah, she takes this huge ass needle, puts it in a syringe, and tells me to kind of not really sit, just kind of lean on the examination table, because it's better that I'm standing up or whatever, sitting up. And she puts the needle against my chest and starts pushing, and it just wouldn't give. Like, there was a lot of resistance, so I decided I never look when they stab me. Like, I don't want to see it. And so I look up, and she drives that thing in with a lot of resistance, but it eventually gave way. And for some reason in that moment I decided to look down. Don't look down. I look at it, and there's a needle this long stuck in my chest, and then there's a syringe, and she starts pulling it back, and this really black, really thick, really disgusting looking blood starts coming out, like lots of it. And she unhooks the syringe from the needle, and empties the syringe into like a container, and goes to do it again. And I'm watching this whole thing happen. I start to get a little queasy, and the nurses start asking me if I'm feeling fine, and I'm like, not so much. And then they laid me down, because I probably would have fainted for the second time in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. But in my defense, that was really disgusting. I mean, oh my god. And they ended up drawing 180 milliliters of blood from my right side and 80 milliliters from the left. That's a lot of blood. And they asked me, interestingly, how big my chest was prior to the surgery, and I say, it was like a full B, small C. Prior to testosterone, they were a little smaller after I started T. And she, kind of nods to herself, like, well, that would explain there was more space left after the tissue was removed for this blood to collect. So yeah, they drained all the blood. They took out my stitches from the nipple area. They just put like the self-adhesive, the tape, the stitches back, and put my binder back on. So I have another checkup next week. I don't know exactly when yet, because they're gonna send that in the mail. So I'm expecting a letter in the coming days. But next checkup should be with my doctor, with the surgeon who operated on me. I was also allowed to shower yesterday, and that makes me happy. So I took off the binder, I took off everything, and I realized that it's the weirdest feeling for me, because when I took it off, I kind of felt when I stood up, it's like this weight was shifting on my chest. In a sense, I guess because the binder keeps it all very tight and compressed, and it kind of keeps it all in place, and then I take it off and kind of, I guess it things move in like they're more like according to gravity and in their like own position. So I was originally gonna do like a reveal on camera, like in video form, but because my chest is still fairly sore and everything, I decided I'm gonna put a picture here somewhere in the video for you to see. Disclaimer, it's quite gross. I mean, I'm happy with it, don't get me wrong, but it's still swollen, it's still bruised as hell, and you know, the fact that they stabbed me with huge needles yesterday is not helping that at all. In taking off my binder yesterday for a longer period of time, I noticed something I didn't notice before. I couldn't have noticed before. On my left side, kind of here under my arm, I have what I think might be adhesions. I think that, you know, the skin or like the tissue underneath is kind of stuck to the chest wall. From what I saw online, you know, it can be remedied with massage and exercise. So I'm hoping that goes away because it looks really unnatural. There's like this dip or like this dent under my arm that looks just really wrong, and I'm hoping that goes away. I will make sure to ask my doctor next week about it. But yeah, in the meantime, I'll do the exercises to improve mobility and hopefully to help resolve any of these adhesions. I'm otherwise feeling fine, relatively speaking. I still kind of feel like I'm a little weak and I get tired very quickly. I mean, yesterday with the doctors and everything and the running around, I found myself to be really, really tired in the evening. Like I passed out. So I guess I'm not back to my old self yet, but I'm getting there. And I can't wait for this to, you know, for this process to be a little further along, you know, to be able to see myself. Also, had the sides here taken off a little bit because I was again looking quite terrible. So I feel almost human again. So yeah, that was it. Another fairly long video, but there's just like so much going on that I can't honestly, I don't know how to communicate all that other than to just lay it all out there. So thanks for sticking around. Till next time.